Their journey began in Chelle, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beats, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.
Hello, welcome to Heart of the Tribe, the Heart of the Tribe weekly show. You know, this has been such an eye-opening learning experience for me as my friend Nurse Lee and I have gone through the 12 tribes and 12 body systems. We have finally come today to the last one in this series with the Tribe of Naphtali and the Musculoskeletal System. But what is wonderful news is that Yah has put it into our ruachs where we're to go next with this for a deeper dive into this whole subject. And so I can hardly wait for that one to begin. But for today, we need to finish up where we're at. So with that, I want to welcome you, whether you're watching live or in the future, and go ahead and welcome my guest, Nurse Lee. Hi, Nurse Lee.
Shalom, Chelle. Hi.
So good to have you here. I'm so glad that we've, made it to the last one of this particular series.
It has been wonderful and eye-opening, and it's like you said, there's just so many layers to this, and I can't wait for where this is going next. I'm kind of sad that we're at the last one of this because it has been so wonderful and eye-opening, but there is more to come.
There really is. There's a lot more to come, and I am getting very excited about what's coming next, and just can't wait to see what all we learn as we continue this deep dive into yahusha as the head of the body, and we as his, the tribes, and how we interact with each other. And it's just amazing. Absolutely.
It is. Uh-huh.
So I'm going to go ahead, and I know we've got a lot to share. So I'm going to go ahead and add my part of my beginning part to the screen. And so here we go. We are talking about Naphtali and the musculoskeletal system. And so it was funny when I first got this download, the night that I got it, I was up praying for my friend Heather because she was broken down in the middle of nowhere as she had just traveled back from Ohio to Pennsylvania because she was getting ready to go and start work at Dr. Monzo's clinic. And I was actually listening to a podcast on the 12 body systems by Dr. Monzo. And I only got through the first minute or two when Yah just dropped this into my spirit. And immediately I kind of typed up what he was giving me and how he was showing me like the 3-letter root going to each one. And we haven't even dug real far into any of that yet. So that'll be more to come too. But I did decide to tell that part of the story and put it up here for us. So Naphtali wrestled the Pathal, right? The Pei, and then the Tav and the Lamed, right? And so I was thinking about that, to wrestle, our words speak the covenant that's going to have authority over our life. That is really our wrestling, isn't it, Lee?
It is so much.
Learning to agree with what Yah has to say rather than what the enemy is trying to send against us.
Right. And it's a constant struggle because they both try to reside within us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's see if I can get this to work. There we go. So at the very beginning of my journey, when I started in 2002 to 2004, is when Yah was downloading this, and this was what he gave me to understand the heart of Naphtali. What is it that drives them? What's their motivating force, right? And so this is actually in 2 Samuel 22 as well as Psalm 18. It's repeated twice, which I find very interesting in the scriptures. And it is El that girds me with strength and makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like hinds' feet and sets me upon my high places. He teaches my hands to war so that a bow of steel is broken by my arms. You know, I've always just loved that scripture. And, you know, I don't know that that everybody knows this, but, you know, my husband was given a direct word from Yah that this was his tribe, that this is the tribe that he belongs in. And so this tribe, of course, is very near and dear to my heart as I study it out, because I look at it and go, wow, just understanding more about the tribe helps me to understand more about my own husband and what drives him and motivates him, you know. And he is definitely a warrior, you know. He's just got that within him, just that warrior spirit, you know, that the kind of man that's going to run to the battle. It was funny, we were talking about that not long ago, and he said, unless it's a bomb, and then you run the other way.
So true.
Yeah, absolutely, isn't it?
It is.
All right. So the key to understanding the heart of Naphtali is intercession. I believe that there is a warfare that takes place that is in the heavenly realms that is near and dear to the heart of this tribe. You know, there's some very interesting things here. Let's start with the name. So in naming Naphtali we find it in Genesis 30, verses 7 and 8. It says, Bilhah, Rachel's slave girl, conceived again and bore Yaakov a second son. Rachel said, I have wrestled mightily with my sister and won, and called him Naphtali, my wrestling. So right away, you see the contention in the family that's going on. You know, he was just born into contention going into the family dynamics, you know, which is just so interesting. So many commentaries, when you're reading about this particular portion of scripture, say that Rachel was wrestling in prayer and then she overcame, right? But it's interesting, that competitive spirit within the body, you know, that really, I find that very interesting. So we know that what someone chooses to say at the very end of their life, especially men and women that have had a close walk with Yah, is of paramount importance. It's like a legacy that they're leaving behind. And so Yaakov, you know, gathered all of his children together, and this is what he had to say about Naphtali. In Genesis 49:21, he said, Naphtali is a hind, which is a doe, a deer. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He gives goodly words. Boy, we really see that in some of the intercession, don't we?
We do.
Yeah. Then Moshe in Deuteronomy 33:23 said, and of Naphtali, he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full with the blessing of yahuah, possess you the west and the south. He's saying expand beyond your given territory, is what I believe he was really saying there. So I wanted to take a look at that. So we can see, you know, this land division here, and we can see where Naphtali was. It's right up here in between Asher and Manasseh. We can see here's the Sea of Galilee, the Jordan River running all the way down, all the way to the Dead Sea, the Salt Sea, right? And then, and even right here within his boundary line. There's the city of Dan, where the golden calf was set up to worship, right? Once the kingdom split. So there's a lot going on up here in this area. All right. And we know that this land portion on this side was just full of the Nephilim tribes, the Canaanites and the divisions of Canaanites, and so there were a lot of high places to deal with all of this territory. And so he tells them, so Naphtali, I got this from Wikipedia, Naphtali settled the eastern side of the Galilee. So they settled this eastern side of the Galilee, of the Sea of Galilee, which is in Manasseh's territory. On the immediate west of the Sea of Galilee, in the areas now known as the Lower Galilee and Upper Galilee, bordered on the west by Asher. So here's their west over here. In the north by Dan. Okay, so Dan, whose tribe was way down here, we know from his blessing, he hopped, right? And set up a city here and then expanded his territory. So very interesting. In the south by Zebulun, right here, and by the Jordan River on the east side, right here. Okay. The most significant city within their territory was the biggest city and significant is this city of Hazor right there. So that would have been a significant place for them. Okay, so historically, the tribe of Naphtali are very fierce warriors. In the chapters of Judges, chapters 4 and 5, we see the story of Barak and Deborah. Barak was from the tribe of Naphtali. And this story shows that sometimes those of Naphtali need encouragement from other leaders in order to go forth and fight their assigned battles. It takes a warrior to go up to the high places and wrestle with spiritual strongholds. In Ephesians 6:12, we see, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in the high places. So the same story shows that men of Naphtali have no problem working with and respecting a woman who they know has been appointed to her position by yahuah. That is one very special characteristic, because that doesn't happen with all men. It just doesn't.
Absolutely not.
I'm not sure that I could do what I do, except that I am married to a man who knows he's from Naphtali. And I see it as a special warfare anointing, that when you are called to be that strong of a warrior, you're so sure of who you are, because you have to be, that other people's giftings don't intimidate you. You look to them for their strength, because you know that the war is intense and you're going to need all the strength that you can get. When you've really got that warrior mentality, competition, jealousy, your place, your position, your authority begins to fall away, because you see the bigger battle and the bigger picture.
I agree with that. I really feel a connection also with Naphtali, because that is exactly how I feel. I do have that run to danger feeling within me. I worked in the ER. If you can't work in the ER if you're not willing to run to danger
Absolutely.
and be involved. But I've never been felt like I needed to be exalted at all, and I love the part about he needed that encouragement, because warriors need encouragement, especially when you've seen a lot of stuff go down. even though you're strong enough to handle it, you might need someone pushing you along, urging you in that direction every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. Now I find it really interesting because I've had, that specific word from Yah of that my tribe is Zebulun, right? And when you look at the different most intense battles, the warriors of Zebulun and the warriors of Naphtali were engaged in the same battles, even when
Right.
so many of the other tribes did not bother to even show up for the
Showed
battle.
up.
Those two
Yeah, they were
tribes did
fearful.
show up. Yeah, and Zebulun very much is in an encouraging tribe. They're wanting to push forward, to go here, to go there, to do this, to do that, to go across the seas, to see what's out there, to dig in the sands, to bring up treasure, to and
Yeah,
connect things. It's very a drive to connect the different pieces and parts, and I definitely see that in my personality. And I know that I work very well with the people from Naphtali, so I find that really interesting.
it is.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that was, is that really? I know I had something else there. Maybe not. Okay, so what I did want to talk about, and I know that you are going to talk about it a little bit too. That was just kind of that background information to get us started. So I know that we have some things that we want to share out of the Testament. And maybe what we'll do is go back and forth a little bit. One
Sure.
other thing that I really wanted to go into, um, before we even start this, is to kind of give a more prophetic view. Let me see if I can bring that up. I want to read through the Valley of Dry Bones, because what we're talking about is the call for the body to come back together. And it is very interesting how Yah gave me the order to do this. He said, do it in the same marching order of the wilderness, right? And so Naphtali's the very last tribe. I mean, one of the strongest warrior tribes, one of the ones able to go to the high places. They're in the rear. And the rear, when you're marching in battle, is a very vulnerable spot, right? And that's you're going to put strength there to try to protect the rest of the tribes. So it looks like they have to take the very last position, but it's strategic and for protection. And I just found that amazing that
It
that was
is.
the order. And so when we think about this valley of dry bones, the people that seem like they were not, that have been brought, that are being brought back again and are coming back to life again as the whole house of Yasharel, the entire body of Yahusha, and what it takes, you know, for the rest of the body to come back. The bones have to stand up, the muscles have to come back on it, right? And that's what we see in this prophecy out of Ezekiel 37. And it's really where Lee and I, it's the inspiration of where we're going in our next series. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of share this to connect it and give everybody that preview and get us thinking about it, right? So Ezekiel 37, starting in verse 1, the hand of Yahweh, oh, let me add it to the screen so everybody can see it. The hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the Ruach Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of Adam, can these bones live? And I answered, O Adonai Yahweh, you know. Again he said unto me, prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus says Adonai Yahweh unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yahuwah. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of Adam, and say to the wind, thus says Adonai Yahweh, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Then he said unto me, son of Adam, these bones are the whole house of Yasharel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus says Adonai Yahweh, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Yasharel. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my ruach in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, says Yahweh.
Amazing.
It really is, isn't it?
It is absolutely amazing. And I think that's so awesome to read that and think about that as we go through these and go into the new series, because you're right, all of this is about that. It's not just about the body systems, it's about the tribes being put back together, the body of yahusha being put back together where it belongs, and in order. There's an order to things.
There really is.
Just like Naphtali being in the rear, they're there. The tribes that were there were put there because they were the strongest and fiercest, and otherwise they could have been overrun. Just people could have come through and slaughtered them in through the rear and just took everybody out, So
it makes me wonder. I know we've talked about this a little bit, and this is just a thought, just throwing this out there. You know how when Moshe, leads everybody out of Mitzrayim, and they finally get to the Red Sea, and they're told, turn around. Was it Naphtali that was then in the front?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I really would imagine so, because everyone else that was weaker would have been in the front. They would have, that's how it goes.
Yeah, the marching order was, we know that the Levites and Yehuda were there leading, and that's a dangerous position too, because you've got to face whatever army's coming at you, right? So we see the strength there with Yah's ark and his, the tribe of Yehuda, also amazing warriors. And then you see in the back these amazing warriors. But then when they have to turn, was it Naphtali that was the first one facing, Pharaoh?
Pharaoh coming in. And I mean, that's a great question. I kind of feel like it would have been. I really do.
And if we compare that to a picture of the first Exodus and then the second Exodus, are we looking at Naphtali having to lead the way for the second? Just
that's
a question.
That's wonderful to think about.
Because what we're dealing with in the world system that we can see right now is the Nephilim again the valley of the Nephilim, the Nephilim in high places, doing everything that they are doing to try to kill, steal, and destroy Yah's people, right?
Right.
And so he's got to have the warriors on the
And
battlefield.
the battles within our body now, right? It's
Yes.
it's not just that they're coming at us with swords and knives and all of that. They're attacking us from inside of our body at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So it's going to take those
poison
strong
arrows.
enough. Mhm.
Poison arrows coming at us all the time,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And
So
everybody
those
knows
that
what we're
fought
talking
it
about.
off, that are strong enough to stand on their own,
Right.
those are going to be the ones that will have that position, I feel like.
Yeah.
'Cause they'll be the only ones left with that complete ruach within them, that's
Yeah.
burning and keeping them strong and focused,
Yeah. And there's such a heart of intercession here with this tribe that is pleading for the rest of the body, that I can see them
Yes.
having to take a huge lead position in this greater exodus. I mean, it's just a thought, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to lay
Very
down
interesting.
kind of dogma or anything. It's just a shared thought for consideration,
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can't wait to hear what you've got to share. And then when it's time, I'm going to share a little bit more out of the Testament, some prophetic things that we both saw in there. So I'm so looking
Awesome.
forward to it.
Well, I'm glad you ended with the piece about the dry bones, because here we can see what you were talking about, putting the bones back together end to end to end, right?
Right.
Pulling them back together, the spine, the head, the jaw, the neck, everything. And then here you've got where the sinew, the muscles, the ligaments and tendons are put back in place. And then that last part, the skin's going to be covering, and then prophesy the breath over them. So I love this visual right immediately after you read that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the musculoskeletal system includes your bones, your cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissues. And the skeleton provides that framework. We always hear people say, get a backbone, grow a spine. That's what we're talking about. That's like the most important part of your framework, just about. So together they support your body's weight and maintain your posture, which mine is terrible. And they help you move. We wouldn't be able to move without all of these muscles and tendons and the soft tissue and everything. There's 206 bones, and I'll never forget when I started nursing school, that's the very first thing we had to do was memorize the 206 bones. And then the more than 600 muscles connected by ligaments, tendons, and soft tissues, and their insertion points. So that was a lot of fun and literally made me think I was going to lose my mind. I made a song out of it, though, so that was the only way I could get through that. But that's a lot going on there, right? And actually, when you look into it, there's actually closer to 700 total muscles in your body.
Wow.
So bone is a living, growing tissue, and it's made of two materials: collagen, which is a protein that provides a soft framework, and calcium, that's that hard mineral that adds strength and hardness. And the combination makes bones strong and flexible enough to hold up under stress. So as I was looking through and comparing different correlations between Naphtali and our musculoskeletal system, I went to Numbers 1:42, 43, where, as you said, it lists the men of Naphtali, 20 years old and more, whoever was able to go to war. This is the first census taken by Moses leaving Egypt. And the opening verses of Numbers 1 relates how, in the second year of their wandering, the Lord spoke to Moses, ordering him to take account of the fighting men of Israel. So then we see of the sons of Naphtali, their genealogical registration by their families by their fathers' households, according to the number of names from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go to war. Their numbered men of the tribe Naphtali were 53,400. So this was the sixth largest number of fighting men amongst the 12 tribes. And it was after the first census that the Almighty relayed his instructions to Moshe concerning the encampment of Israel in the wilderness. This particular tribe, as you said, was assigned to the camp of Dan along with the tribe of Asher, and they three together protected the rear of the advancing camp. So they were strong and flexible enough to hold up under stress, which we see that's the main component to our bones, our skeletal system, is they have to be strong and flexible enough to hold up to stress. So when you're hit with something, you don't just snap and break,
Right.
they have to be, and that's why we have cartilage and things that are more of a bendy bone. So we're not always breaking. We can bend in some retrospect. And
Right.
that's really what I saw with Naphtali, is that they were strong, but then they were also flexible.
Yeah.
And the tribe lost 8,000 men, though, through their sojourn in the wilderness. After the second census, they had slipped to the eighth largest tribe. No reason is given in scripture, but I'm pretty sure, and, it's not illogical to make the assumption that their position in the rear guard may have had something to do with it, right? Because they were in that position in the rear. So they lost 8,000 men in that sojourning.
Wow.
And looking here, I pulled this snippet out of one of the AMA medical journals, and skeletal muscles, they say 700. There's lots that say between 600 and 700. So we'll say 700 skeletal, and that skeletal muscles provide the movement, control, enhances and exits of the digestive tract, produce heat, so help keep you warm, and support your skeletal position, so all your bones stay where they're supposed to, and protect your soft tissues. So you have axial muscles, which support and position the axial skeleton, and then appendicular muscles, which support, move, and brace limbs. So, in that picture where you have the different muscles going in different directions, that's what that all is talking about. Each one of them is adding support and holding things in place. Your tendons and aponeuroses, I don't know if I said that right, harness forces of contraction to perform specific tasks, like bending my arm and straighten it, and bending my fingers and grasping, things like that. Your muscles make up the bulk of the body and account for a third of its weight. So that's pretty interesting. And blood vessels and nerves run to every single muscle, which is helping control and regulate the muscle's function. And the part about heating up, when you're cold, if you get moving, you're going to warm up. That's because your muscles are helping heat you up. That blood flow is going through them and to them, and that gives you energy and lets you keep moving. That's why if you're ever in a situation where you're cold, if you can keep moving, even tapping your feet or, walking around, that's going to help keep your warmth going.
Yeah.
And the Testament of Naphtali. Now, I know you use the Sefer. I don't have the Sefer for this. So I did have to go in. I think I got this from secrettext.com. That's where you can find for free all the Apocrypha, the Testaments, and all of that. So it is in an Old English, King James way. So I've tried to alter as many as I could find the words to make a little bit more sense. All the doeth and maketh, I tried to take out. But I did love the header for it. They had the Testament of Naphtali, the runner, a lesson in physiology. And I was like, well, there you go.
Wow.
That wasn't for me. That was their description of what the Testament of Naphtali was. And it fits. Boy, does it fit.
That's incredible.
It is. And I picked out of here some of the chapters, and the way it's numbered is different from the Sefer. So my numbers will look different if you do have that.
I wanted to say one thing about this that I forgot. The reason that I picked even the deer on mine is that would have been what was on the banner. Now,
The
one
banner.
thing that I have always found so interesting about the deer is the fact that the deer has no gallbladder.
Oh,
Yeah, so they have no place to store up bitterness, right? I think some can get away with having some amount of bitterness and then giving the body a chance to process it, right? And I'm just puzzling this out. But if you don't have a gallbladder and you're called to be an intercessor, you don't have the ability to store up any bitterness in you. It's immediately going to make you ill.
that's
When
amazing.
that negativity comes in, you've got to, if you're from Naphtali, you've got to be able to deal with it right then and there, because otherwise, maybe as compared to someone from a different tribe, it's going to make you deathly sick.
Right. Dan says, neither do I. I don't either. So I understand exactly what you're saying. And that's
Yeah.
true. It's something that has to be dealt with. And I think that was most of my life. When I had a gallbladder, I dealt with more bitterness than I have since then, because that was about the time I started shifting my walk more onto the narrow path. But that's amazing. Thank you for that. Wow.
Absolutely.
Here we see him say, and then in this testament, he's called his family, and he tells them, I didn't include this, but he tells them at the beginning in the testament that he's dying, and no one believes him because he looks so fit and virile and strong, but he's like, no, I'm going to die. I'm actually dying. No one believes him though. So that cracked me up, because he's probably been one of those that has gone through battle and just kept pushing, just kept going. Even if you're injured, even if you're hurt, you just keep going. So they couldn't believe that now he was going to pass away, right?
Yeah. And being friends with you and being married to Robert, nothing truer could be said of either one of you. Yeah, that is just 100% fits both of your personalities. So
it is, I would just walk around with something. Well, my shoulder is so messed up, and I'm like, whatever, I'm fine. We have to do this. So we're good. But then we have the smart people like you and my husband who are like, we really got to worry about this. We've got to get, maybe we should fix it. maybe we should get it fixed. I don't know. I'll deal with it later. So here he says, and I love this, that so much of this testament just spoke to me in ways where I can see so much of myself, more so than any of the others. I really see it. And I was swift on my feet like the deer, and my father Jacob appointed me for all messages. As a deer did he give me his blessing. And I have here, so far, the fastest anyone has run or been able to run is about 27.5 miles an hour. Can you believe that?
Wow.
A speed reached briefly by the sprinter Usain Bolt.
Wow.
Just after the midpoint of his world record 100-meter dash in 2009, he ran 27.5 miles an hour.
That's amazing.
Right. And swift on your feet like a deer. I think that definitely proves the musculoskeletal system can do that. And like I've told you, if you see me running, you should run too, because something's after me. I'm not going to be just running for my health, people. No. There will be something. If you see me going, you should follow.
Robert's the same way. He does not run for health. Something's coming after him.
Yes, you should run. And then here we see, for as the potter know the vessel, how much it is to contain and bring clay according, so also doth Yahweh make the body after the likeness of the spirit, and according to the capacity of the body doth he implant his spirit, right?
Right.
Human bone is as strong as steel, but 50 times lighter. And that is a fact. I pulled that out of an AMP book. Human bone is as strong as steel, but 50 times lighter. So that's how we can take those impacts, a lot of them, without breaking.
Yeah.
Bone is as strong as steel. Wow. And they build buildings out of steel, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the one does not fall short of the other by a third part of a hair, for by weight and measure and rule was all creation made. In the musculoskeletal system, the muscular and skeletal systems work together to support and move the body. The bones of the skeletal system serve to protect the body's organs, support the weight of the body, and give the body shape. All of these things yahuah took into account in the building and creation of our body. You know, the weight and the measure and the rule was all creation made. And I looked at also my thought of Naphtali and that marching order and how they were in the rear, right? They serve to protect the body's organs. So they're protecting all those other tribes that are encompassed, you know, within our body, within our skeletal system. They're all protected. If we didn't have our lungs, our heart would be exposed, you know, just a punch to the chest and that would be it. The same with our brain. You know, your head can take a good whack. I can attest for that. And you can keep going, right?
Right.
Our body was made that way by yahuah because he knew what it would have to be capable of living through and managing. He knew that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And he knew that from the beginning as far as what the tribes, what order they would have to be in and what each personality would be best to fit at. And that's what we're going, you know, I'm loving the thought of going in further into the spiritual aspects of this as well.
Yes.
That we each have spiritual gifts as well as those supportive gifts that we have from the Father. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And then, and as the potter know the use of each vessel, he knows each one of us. He knows the use of each of us, what it is meet for. So also doth Adonai know the body, how far it will persist in goodness and when it will begin in evil. He knows us. He knows us better than ourselves. For there is no inclination or thought which Adonai know not, for he created every man after his own image. For as a man's strength, so also in his work as his eye, so also in his sleep as his soul, so also in his word, either in the law of yahuah or in the law of Beliar.
Yeah.
Wow. Even in our sleep. And we've talked about this in other Walking in the Words, where we were going through the different ruachot, the evil ones, the good ones, what works well with us. And we're born with all of these around us, you know.
Yeah.
We constantly have that struggle, like you said. And you discussed that wonderfully in Mercy Poured Forth this morning and in the audio, because it really is the two seeds, the double-mindedness, you know, the double-heartedness, not just in our mind, but in our heart.
Yeah.
So here I also pulled out the Testament of Naphtali on down in the first chapter. For Yah made all things good in their order. I love that. In their order. There is an order, the marching order, the 5 senses in the head, and he joined the neck to the head, adding to it the hair for comeliness and glory, then the heart for understanding, the belly for excrement, and the stomach for grinding, the windpipe for taking in the breath, the liver for wrath, the gall for bitterness, the spleen for laughter, the reins for prudence, the muscle of the loins for power, the lungs for drawing in, and the loins for strength, and so forth. And I found it quite interesting that the loins for powder and the loins for strength, he mentioned those two separately. You know, you need the power, but then you also need that strength that has endurance, right? That's what I picked up when he separated those two there. And there we see where you talked about the gall for bitterness and the liver for wrath. We've talked about that so many times, that anger comes from the liver. And that's just an amazing thing for me, as I've taken care of many people with their liver issues. And I promise you that fits. The anger and the wrath comes from the liver. It affects your whole body. And it's really amazing to read these words now, and they're so true. And we have to think about the time frame this was written.
Yeah.
You know, how many thousands of years ago this was, and how spot on it is. Like, spot on. We think we're so smart with the science and the whatever it is, the research we've done. Look at this.
It's amazing.
I doubt he had the Grey's Anatomy book to go through to pull that out for, but
right.
I mean, it's pretty amazing to see that. And after reading that, I wanted to see exactly about the muscles and what were the strongest. And the hardest working muscle is your heart. It pumps out 2 ounces or 71 grams of blood at every heartbeat.
Wow.
Daily. The heart pumps at least 2,500 gallons or 9,450 liters of blood. And the heart has the ability to beat over 3 billion times in a person's life.
Wow.
Wow. How amazing and important is that muscle. And we see up here, he says, the heart for understanding. There's got to be a deeper spiritual meaning to that. You know, I believe it's not just a muscle in our chest that pumps the blood around, right?
Right. And we still have that connection to the tribe of Levi there with the cardiovascular, you know?
Right.
Very
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we know those have to work together. Otherwise your muscles can't work without a blood supply, you know, and that's not the nerves that innervate them, that go from the brain to everything. And that is the beautiful picture of the tribes laid out, and the beautiful picture of the creation of our body systems that Yah put together. Nothing was an accident. And it's so intricate in such a level that it blows my mind. It really blows my mind. If you were to take it down to the cellular level, it just, you know, wow. So the strongest muscle based on its weight is the masseter. So that is in your jaw.
Wow.
With all muscles of the jaw working together, it can close the teeth with a force as great as 55 pounds. Yes. Wow. On the incisors, or 200 pounds on your molars in the back.
Wow.
So your strongest muscle also makes me realize is your words, because without the masseter, you wouldn't be able to speak. So there is life and death in your words, right?
Yeah.
That was one thing that just struck me. That and this one was amazing also because Naphtali was in the rear, right? So the single biggest muscle in the human body is the gluteus maximus, or your rear, your buttocks.
Yeah.
This muscle helps keep your torso erect, and the stronger glutes allow a person to jump higher and sprint faster. So all of that perfectly describes Naphtali. They're in the rear, and they're there to support the torso, which would go up towards the middle and out to the 2 sides and up to the head, right? So they're supporting all the way up that marching order.
Plus that the dough on the banner, you know, and the prophecy that they would be able to, you know, go up on the high places. Well, that's climbing up onto the high places, which
jumping,
those
sprinting,
gluteus maximus muscles.
Right. Right.
Because you're not climbing without them.
Interesting part about that is the muscle that can exert the most force is your soleus, or your calf muscle.
Wow.
So according to Grey's Anatomy, which is a nursing medical book, all doctors and nurses, that's the first thing we have to buy when we start nursing school. And it's about that thick.
Right.
And it has all the physiology. It's got all the body systems within it and broken down. That's where the cover always has the Man in Motion by Da Vinci on the front. We still use his sketches today for that. So without that muscle, we wouldn't be able to stand. We wouldn't be able to walk, run, or shake our bodies on the dance floor. You got to have it. You can't do anything without it. And if it was not continuously pulling, we would be falling over ourselves all the time, which I wonder if there's something wrong with mine, because I do fall over myself quite frequently. I think it's just my lack of grace, maybe, or maybe I'm just that graceful. I don't know. You can look at it either way. But isn't that interesting that the muscle that can exert the most force is in your calves? So that would go along with getting to the high places, being able to climb, jump, that strength in your calf,
Yeah.
Scripture gives us evidence that he was a good and righteous man. And I found this out of learn.com. I think that's one I put up before. I love the way, and I think it's for homeschooling. So there's always a depth of understanding in there. And it says, Jacob states, in talking about Naphtali, that he gives beautiful words in the blessings of his son. The Hebrew word translated as words is emer. The Hebrew word translate as speech, arguments, sayings, utterances. Emer occurs 50 times in the Old Testament, mainly in the books of Psalms, Proverbs, and Job.
The wisdom books.
These books are full of sayings, quotes, and anecdotes to live by. The book of Job is littered with speeches by various individuals. Emer is derived from the Hebrew word amar, and this word translates to tell, to speak, to utter. It is used over 5,000 times in the Old Testament, and the general idea, according to Spirosodiates, is the uttering of some type of spoken word. I added all this in because it comes down and says Amar occurs 8 times in Genesis 1 and is used specifically by Yah to speak the world into existence. Based on these 2 Hebrew words and the context Emer is used in relation to Naphtali, Jacob seemed to be saying that his son gave good, soundly, godly advice. He possessed eloquent speech, a sign of high intelligence. The son of Yaakov, it would appear, became known for his eloquent speech and sage advice. He must have been a well-respected man by his peers, as he certainly was by his father. Whatever his misdoings were in his youth, by the time Yaakov was ready to die, he had become a godly man, a man of righteousness and beautiful words. So that led me to this. Our tongue consists of 8 muscles together. Speech, eating, and swallowing would be impossible without it, and it may not be the strongest muscle, although it's up at the top as one of the strongest muscles. But why it's not the strongest is it's actually 8 together. It's not just one; it's 8 muscles together. But it is one of the hardest working muscles, and if it was not those 8 muscle, we would tire quickly from talking. We would not be able to speak long periods of time. So that just shows you how much strength there is in our voice, in our words, in the words we speak. Just like with the masseter, working together with the tongue, our words have power, and his words obviously had power because his father is saying what beautiful words, what eloquent speeches and words and thoughts he had. We can use our voice for good or bad is basically what I was getting there. This is that last part. Did you want to read the prophecy before we read the last part that I have, or do you want me to just...
Sure, I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so, I just love that prophecy part that's in...
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I'm using the Bear Sheet book from Sefer Publishing to read this out of, and the prophecy part begins for them. The way they have it numbered is in chapter 5. Okay, so here it goes. For in the 40th year of my life, I saw a vision on the Mount of Olives on the east of Jerusalem, that the sun and the moon were standing still. I have to stop because there's a thought running through my brain about something that you were talking about. And it was the goodly words, the sound advice. So the thought that's hitting my brain is the ability, the level of discernment seen in Naphtali in order to see a situation as it really is and exactly what's going on, to be able to deal with what's happening on the high places, not just the strength it takes to get up there, but then to understand what you're dealing with once you're there, right?
Yes.
And
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, so there's another element to that I'm really just, I just feel the prompting of the Ruach to mention this, and that's part of the goodly words. It's words of good advice because of an insight given by Yah to an intercessor, to someone
Wow.
that has those kind of spiritual giftings. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's just something else. I mean, I think it's hit my brain because I'm in such a close relationship with you and with Robert, and you guys are the ones that help me figure out what in the world we're dealing with sometimes as different things come our way. You know, I know that you have really strong giftings in that area, and I know Robert has really strong giftings in that area. So that it's just kind of like another puzzle piece for me. And I just wanted to share it because it just hit my brain, and I was like, oh, wow.
Wow. That's amazing. I love
It
that.
really is. Yeah. Very amazing. Okay. So, okay, I'll start again with the prophecy. All right. For in the 40th year of my life, I saw a vision on the Mount of Olives on the east of Jerusalem, that the sun and the moon were standing still. And behold, Yitzhak, the father of my father, said to us, run and lay hold of them, each one according to his strength, and to him that seizes them will the sun and moon belong. And we all of us ran together, and Levi laid hold of the sun, and Yehudah outstripped the others and seized the moon, and they were both of them lifted up with them. And when Levi became as a son, lo, a certain young man gave to him 12 branches of palm, and Yehudah was bright as the moon, and under their feet were 12 rays. And the two, Levi and Yehudah, ran and laid hold of them, and a bull upon the earth with two great horns, and an eagle's wings upon its back. And we wished to seize him, but could not. But Joseph came and seized him, and ascended up with him on high. And I saw, for I was there, and behold, a holy writing appeared to us, saying, Asherim, Medes, Persians, the Kasdim, Aramim shall possess in captivity the 12 tribes of Yasharel. And again, after 7 days, I saw our father, Yaakov, standing by the sea of Yavneel, which would be Jamnia. And we were with him, and behold, there came a ship sailing by, without sailors or pilot, and there was written upon the ship of Yaakov. And our father said to us, come, let us embark on our ship. And when he had gone on board, there arose a vehement storm and a mighty tempest of wind, and our father, who was holding the helm, departed from us. And we, being tossed with the tempest, were borne along over the sea, and the ship was filled with water and was pounded by mighty waves until it was broken up. And Joseph fled away upon a little boat, and we were all divided upon 9 planks, and Levi and Yehudah were together, and we were all scattered unto the ends of the earth. Then Levi, girt about with sackcloth, prayed for us all unto yahuah. And when the storm ceased, the ship reached the land, as it were, in peace. And our father came, and we all rejoiced with one accord. These 2 dreams I told to my father, and he said to me, these things must be fulfilled in their season. After that, Yasharel has endured many things. Then my father says unto me, I believe, Elohim, that Joseph lives. For I see always that yahuah numbers him with you. And he said, weeping, Ah, me, my son Joseph, you live, though I behold you not, and you see not Yaakov that begot you. He caused me also, therefore, to weep by these words, and I burned in my heart to declare that Joseph had been sold, but I feared my brethren. And lo, my children, I've shown unto you the last times how everything shall come to pass in Yasharel. Do you also therefore charge your children that they be united to Levi and Yehudah? For through them shall Yeshua arise unto Yasharel, and in them shall Yaakov be blessed. I find that very interesting, considering we understand that Yahusha is king and priest, and that's what the tribe of Levi was priest and
Right.
Yehudah king, right?
Right.
For through their tribes shall all Elohim appear, dwelling among men on earth, to save the race of Yasharel, and to gather together the righteous from amongst the other nations. If ye work that which is good, my children, both men and angels shall bless you, and Elohim shall be glorified among the other nations through you, and the devil shall flee from you, and the wild beast shall fear you, and yahuah shall love you, and the angels shall cleave to you. As a man who has trained a child well is kept in kindly remembrance, so also for a good work there is a good remembrance before Elohim. But him that does not that which is good, both angels and men shall curse, and Elohim shall be dishonored among the other nations through him, and the devil shall make him as his own peculiar instrument, and every wild beast shall master him, and yahuah shall hate him. And I'm going to stop there because I know you've got what comes next after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
We need to take that as we do this next series and delve into parts of that, because there's just so much there, and just it blew my mind. I don't know why, but I wanted to, especially for this time that we're in and the things that are going on right now in our world, in the spirit realm and the physical, both are kind of starting to line up together at the same time.
Yes.
And that peculiar, that twisting of that word there, we see Peter talk about us being peculiar children, right, to Yah, but that's twisting it as peculiar of the devil, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty
Very
amazing
interesting.
stuff. Naphtali was very prophetic there. That was just all of them have. It starts that his dreams on the Mount of Olives and leads through there. It just absolutely blew me away. I feel like I've read it 5 or 6 times, and every time I read it or hear you read it, I'm getting a little bit more every time. But wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really amazing. There's a lot to unpack there.
There is. The last part that I had to end out with Naphtali, for me, again, just spoke to me prophetically and in my life, actually. And like we say, this was thousands and thousands of years ago, but yet here he is talking about exactly what we're going through right now. For the commandments of the law are twofold, and through prudence must they be fulfilled. For there is a season for a man to embrace his wife, and a season to abstain therefrom for his prayer. Yeah. So then there are 2 commandments, and unless they be done in due order, they bring very great sin upon men. Wow. That immediately, we're to love Yahweh with all our heart, mind, and self, and our soul, and everything that we have, and we're to love our neighbors as ourselves. And right now in this world, we do not see either of those happening, except within those of us that are clinging to the tzitzit of our Messiah, literally clinging to the hymn as best we can. But you see here.
And look at that, how it says they've got to be done in due order.
We've
got to love Yah first, because if we don't, then we will not have the ability to love our neighbor as ourselves.
That's right. And it's so hard. I remember being a young parent and studying that and having an issue with it, because how can I not love my children more than anything else? And it's hard. It really is hard. And I feel like a lot of people push back on that. But now I see the joy in that, because he loves them as much as he loves me. So there's nothing, my loving them more than I love him, there's nothing that I can do that he isn't capable of doing, plus so much more
Right.
for them. So I think by restraining ourselves from loving him first and foremost, we're actually hurting our family that we're exalting,
Right.
rather than loving him first. And that's something I've had to really learn to let go of. And you're not letting go of him. It doesn't mean you don't love your children. It means that you realize that he loved them first, and you're to love him, and he'll handle everything else. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And he can definitely do a better job than my fleshly soul can do.
Yeah, me too.
And I love it says here, so also is it with the other commandments. So you have these two that must be done in due order, right? The first two important ones that
Yeah.
Yahusha tells us about. But then you also have to do the others as well. They're not passed away. They're not nailed to anything. They are absolutely important to us today as they were back
Absolutely.
then. Be ye therefore wise in Yah, my children, and prudent, understanding the order of his commandments and the laws of every word, our Torah, that Adonai may love you. So for him to love us, we've got to understand his order of the commandments and the Torah of every word of it, right?
Yeah.
So easy. It really is. We mess it up and make it, oh, it's hard. You're, like you said earlier, you're putting yourself under the law. And I've always had that thrown up in my face being on this. You're
Right.
choosing to be under the law. It's like,
Right.
no, I'm choosing to be under the wing of my Father. You just don't see that.
Yeah. I mean, Yahusha said, if those who love me, follow my commandments.
Keep my
Keep my
commandments.
commandments.
Yes.
It's pretty
I
clear.
don't know how you can read that and not know what it means.
Me neither.
And when he had charged them with many such words, he exhorted them that they should remove his bones to Hebron, and that they should bury him with his fathers. And I love this. And when he had eaten and drunken with a merry heart, he covered his face and died.
Yes.
And his sons did according to all that Naphtali their father had commanded them. But his strength carried him through. And when he was done, he was done.
He was done.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love that. But this was an amazing one to me.
It was.
It really was. And I can't wait to dig deeper with all the tribes with you and start the new series. I'm a little sad, but at the same time, I'm pretty excited about what's to come, because this has been an amazing journey with the tribes and the body systems.
It really has. And I'm so glad that we got to go ahead and complete phase 1 of it, so that we can embark on phase 2, and can't wait to see what else Yah shows us to bring forward and shares with us, that we get to share with everybody else. So I've really enjoyed doing this, and hope that it's just been a blessing, whether people hear it now or hear it later, that it continues to be a blessing and brings revelation and insight that helps people in their own individual lives, helping them. I mean, really, to me, the whole reason that I feel like it was so important. I remember, before I even started to get the tribe, the whole download of this, I didn't even understand anything about the tribes yet, or about Shabbat or the feast or anything yet. But I was a worship leader, and I know that I kept seeing in my mind's eye, in my ruach, I kept seeing a picture of the bride made up of all the different people. You know, they were all encompassing. That was what her body and everything about her was made up of individuals, you know, and that we all have our place there. And so that's what burns in my heart. I don't want to see people feel like a bone out of joint, you know, as if they don't belong somewhere in the body, because everybody does, and everybody's important. And I don't care if it's one muscle in the tongue, it matters, right? If it's one cell in the kidney, it matters. If it's one skin cell, it matters. You know, every single person is important. And we don't want any part of the body to be a bone out of joint. We don't want any part of the body to become a diseased or cancerous cell, right? We want to see the body whole and functioning and happy and healthy. And that's what yahusha wants.
Right. And I think a lot of times, I know on my journey, I just always felt like I don't belong, like I didn't belong anywhere. I didn't fit anywhere. Well, guess what? You fit and you belong. And he had this design in mind at creation, at the very beginning of creation. So every single person is so needed, necessary, and significant. And that's why he doesn't want to lose any part of us. We wouldn't want to lose any part of our body. We wouldn't want to miss a finger or a toe. We need those, you know, and like you said, we need every cell that makes us up.
Yep.
And he feels the same way. He feels the same way about us.
He certainly
and that's
does.
what this series has done for me, is even give me a bigger realization of how connected we really are. We truly are connected.
Yeah. And that's why when we know that a brother or sister is in pain or needs prayer, this is what I love about our Telegram groups at Heart of the Tribes. You know, you do such a good job of managing that for us, Lee. You've got that heart of intercession and just handling that so that people have a place to come and fellowship that is safe, you know, because it's not just about being a nice, welcoming person. Sometimes it's also dealing with the wolves, you know, and keeping it a safe place. And you and James together, working together, do an awesome job of managing this and keeping this a wonderful, safe place of fellowship for us to have, so that we can bring our request and we can meet together and we can encourage one another and love on one another. And it's in a good and safe place. And I really appreciate y'all's service on that.
Well, thank you. I've always been a prayer warrior. I've realized the importance of it. And I've put up here our website for heartofthetribes.org, because that is where you can get to our Telegram groups. But then my lovely husband has also just added the link in as well. And we would love for anyone and everyone to join. If you need prayers, if you need lifting up, or you got a praise, or you want to share scripture, we would love to have you there. And you don't have to go through anyone to get there. You can click that link and go right in and come on and fellowship with us, and check our website out while you're at it, because there's a lot going on there as well. And lots more is going to be added as we go through the end of this year.
I can't believe how much we have accomplished in this in 2022 so far. I mean, it's just been amazing. And so, you know, more is coming. As long as Yah has this vehicle open for us, we're going to keep plowing ahead in this area for as long as the door is open. So
I'm just so thankful. And James, I know I can speak for him as well, that you have done this for us, that have this platform and invite us into where we can share the word with the four corners. It blesses us as much as it blesses anyone else. And I cannot believe, like, we laugh all the time. We were at your house when James said he wanted to be more bold for the Lord, for Yah. And the next thing we know, a week later, he's like, well, how about be it on YouTube? You want to be bold and speak for me? here you go. And
Right.
even though both of us were a little apprehensive, it has enriched our lives and blessed us in ways that I didn't think was possible. And it's because this is Yahuah's ministry. And that's what I've loved about it is you knew and started that for him, the ministry of Heart of the Tribes for him, because we are pulling the tribes back in and back together. And it's just beautiful and amazing. And I can't wait to see where else we're going to go and what else we're going to talk about, because I know that the Father brings it through you and through us. And like you said yesterday, I'm not really sure what I'm going to talk about because it's going to come from the Father.
Right. That's what happens. Yeah. And the big thing is, I think with all of this is we're not trying to impress anybody with the fish we've caught. We want to empower everybody who is a part of this to become strong fishermen themselves and be able to be as strong as possible in the position that Yah has placed them in, because everybody has a sphere of influence, and we all have to do our part in that. And so we're hoping that whatever resources we bring is something that helps every single person who comes gain strength and understanding for themselves and their lives. Yeah.
Yes. In addition to their toolkit for how to survive in a world gone mad.
That's right. That's really what it is.
Truly what it is. Tonight,
is.
James and I at 5 p.m. Eastern are going to be talking about how the world has geared towards being lovers of self, and going to give a few examples about that, but then also filling your toolkit with the scripture and hope that you need to avoid that, because we are lovers of Yah, not of ourselves. And that's hard when you live in a world where everything you see is geared towards loving yourself, exalting yourself, your appearance, what you have and own, and all of that, especially with the upcoming holidays, not holy days.
Right.
You will see that they're the holidays, not the holy days. We choose to do the holy days. So I feel like that's a lot of what we're going to be gearing up between now and the end of the year, is just how to protect yourself from all of that, because it affects me. I know it has to affect you and others when you see all of that. I kind of burrow in at this time of the year and try not to watch. We don't have cable, but I try not to watch anything where I'm going to be bombarded with all of that self-love stuff,
Yeah, me too. Well, I am looking forward to that. That'll be at 5 p.m. EST time. And I can't wait to see what you guys bring forward. And we can't wait to start our new series. It'll be a couple weeks before we start the new one. We've got some study things to get in place, but we'll make sure to announce it on our Telegram and different places and different shows, letting everybody know when we're getting ready to start again. All right. Well, for today, I think that kind of concludes our show, and we will say shalom.
Shalom.
Bye, everyone.
Their journey began in Yasharel, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.